What's going on, guys? Welcome to Creative Suit Talk, episode 4. And today we are filming in the great outdoors. I'm happy to present our very first guest, Mr. Ricardo Sanchez.
What's up, guys?
How are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm good.
Thank you for coming out here.
For sure.
Like the outfit, like your style. This is our first official time meeting, so
Yeah.
pleasure's all mine to get the honor to get to know you a little bit. So I'm excited for this because it's sort of like my chance to dive in deep into like who you are, how I even know you, and just like, keep it free flowing. So
For sure.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, man.
What's going on here?
going on?
What is this?
Just doing
Yo, I thought this was our thing. Like, look, you got the cameras, you at the park. Like, I don't know who this dude is.
Yeah,
like, no disrespect. It's
Listen,
just- I thought we had a thing. You know
listen,
what?
You can
You
pull
know
up a
what?
seat,
You know
but
what?
it's
You
too
know
bad
what?
there's no other
You
seat
know what?
around here. So I guess you're
No,
just gonna have to sit this
we're not
one
doing
out.
this.
Oh, look at that. Oh, seat. Wow.
See, like,
That's great.
we already started. We already got
That's
this
great.
thing going.
All right.
So,
Hey, Jesse. This is Ricky.
hey,
or
Ricky.
Ricardo.
What's up,
What's going
Jesse?
on, man? Nice to
Hey,
meet you. How you
you too,
doing?
man. Good.
Good to see you.
Good. You too.
What's going on? What were you guys talking about?
I feel like this is like a date and your ex walks in.
yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, where were we?
You were introducing.
Introductions.
We were
yeah.
just yeah. So if you want to introduce yourself.
For sure. I'm a New York-based filmer. Do a couple things. I do martial arts, and those two. I'm a filmer and a martial artist. There you go.
Okay. Very good. Very
In a
good.
gist.
So how do we know each other?
So I think we met in before COC. I think we met somewhere, but from my recollection, it was COC.
It was the charity event. Swing for the
Yes,
Stars. Yeah.
I remember, and that's where you told me
I'm
that.
sorry, what's CLC?
So it's Challenge of Champions. It's where it's an event Tiger Showman hosts,
Oh, nice.
where people from like different schools come and fight each other.
So for those that don't know, Tiger Showman's is a martial arts franchise that has multiple locations on the East Coast, Northeast, I think more specifically. So you train at what school specifically?
Story of Queens.
Story of Queens, and I train at Hoboken Tiger Showman's. So this event, Swing for the Stars, is a charity event. Forget for like.
They did it for kids with special needs.
Special needs, got it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what like the title was for it, but ultimately he was one of the camera operators for the event.
Okay.
And it's funny because I don't post any. I remember how our first conversation was I came in with a camera, and it's like I could probably imagine what you were thinking. You're like, who the fuck is this guy with the camera? Like, I thought we were the only, like, I know the whoever,
so
right?
Two teams, multiple teams. At
Yeah.
covering
So
different people, right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
so you have this guy just walking in here like all smiles and stuff, and I'm like, hey man, how are you? And he's like, whatever. And then I forgot who I was talking to. I think it was Samuel from Samuel Film.
From Dippolito, right?
I think
like the
that's his
brand,
name.
I think?
The green S, that's his logo. He does like a lot of
Samuel Rivera,
yeah, Rivera. He had commented on a project that I did. It was with Christian when I did like his first like promo when he had his first pro fight, and I had like went up to him because I was just like, hey, you're like I saw his face and I was just like, hey, I'm so and so. I did Christian's thing. He was like, oh, and so we were talking, and I think Ricky was. I don't know if it was like that, but you were around, and you go, "Oh, you're evolved." You're like, "You're evolved," and I was,
because you knew each other already
so
on Instagram.
we had followed each other, but I followed him through my business account, and I didn't have any like of my face.
Also,
on
how
the
did you
account.
pick up on the fact that
I think I saw his face. No,
Was
I've
it
seen
that?
your face
I thought it was.
I mean, how was I gonna recognize?
I thought
you?
it was because of Christian's video, because I was talking about doing like.
And I think
Christian's
they
thing.
tagged. Yeah, I saw your face. They tagged you, and then I just kind of put two things together.
Yeah, so it was, so that's how we met, and then I know Jay Matthews boy, or he does like photos too. Jay Pix, I think that's his.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, I always butcher Usama.
Usama.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usama had DM'd me a while back, just talking about like, hey, like I see you do like, are you into like fighter stuff? I forgot what the DMs were, but I was just like, yeah, like, you know, shoot me anytime, like if you need some help or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so that was like my first time walking in where it was like other media individuals
Okay.
in the same space. Like up until then, last year when I started working with Christian, I just went into headquarters. No one else was with the camera.
Got it.
At that time, I think Jay, I don't know if he was shooting pictures or not, but I think we had talked very briefly. But from what I understood, I was like, I'm the only guy in here that films, so I don't know, I don't know whose territory this is, but I'm here for Christian. That's it. I'm not trying to step on anyone's territory.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what would you say that first interaction was? I know you were locked in with what you were doing there, but that's the first time.
Did he treat you good? Like, was he?
Yeah, no, he's a cool dude. I mean, I learned a little bit about him, how we knew Christian and everything. But it was cool. I mean, my experience going into it was just like, it's a new event. Tiger Showman, like Danielle hit me up, was like, oh, can you help us work the live stream? I'm like, okay. But I like same thing. I was like, I don't know who runs this primarily, which was DiPolito, I think, who ran the live stream.
Have you ever worked with them before?
No, that was my first time.
Okay.
So
DiPolito Productions, I think that's the name there. Yeah.
So I was kind of in the same boat. Like, okay.
So Ricky, what kind of content do you normally produce?
So right now I produce mainly sport promos. Like I think you can see on my Instagram a lot of like things that for martial arts, kickboxing events, as well as tattoo events, tattoo reels, things like that.
Okay. So how'd you end up in those niches specifically when it comes to production?
Yeah. So with mixed martial arts, I've been training for about 5 years now. So when I picked, to kind of speed forward, we could talk about the story later, but got a camera and then started making films. Then I met Usama, who put me on to these promotions that I kind of went to, and I started taking pictures with them. Then we started doing more video for them as well. And so now we kind of run a lot of promotions in New York.
And your company, you're co-founder of?
Bantam Shot.
Bantam Shot. And what does Bantam Shot mainly focus in?
So when we started, it was more just a media company. We do video, photography, but now we're expanding into doing a lot of like live stream. We're gonna be doing live stream for those guys, as well as news, like journalism for those guys as well. But we're looking to branch into like the UFC one day or bigger promotions like that.
And just to give you some insight, Jesse, he's done some stuff for PFL, which is like, it's like a league like UFC, just obviously not UFC.
Okay.
But PFL, there's like top fighters in there. Who's that heavyweight that's in PFL? Is it
Francis Ngannou.
Ngannou, he's in the PFL. So like he was once a UFC fighter, so now he's in the PFL. So it's awesome. A pretty known organization in the combat sports industry. Okay. So I know that you guys have done a few things for them as well. So
we've done 3 of their Atlanta shows, and they're coming to New York to MSG, and we're going to be doing, I think they're staying for 2 or 3 events, but we're doing those events as well.
That's out, man. That's out.
Sorry. I was going to ask, so is it mostly, because I'm really curious, is it mostly event coverage, or is it a mix of like, are you doing any sort of storytelling for these fighters? Like, what kind of content is it specifically?
So it's a mixture of both. For these guys, when I do these events, it's more so like event promotion.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And if there is a story, the general story would be like, oh, there's these main event guys who are fighting. One maybe is the top dog. The other one's the underdog coming in, and it's like, okay, we're trying to build up this fighter to make people kind of be like, feel that tension of, is the underdog gonna win, or is the guy who's already on top staying there?
That's awesome.
You know?
So I want to just rewind a little bit. I want to get to know you a little bit more of how you got started. Like, talk about your upbringing. You know, like, I want to talk about a little bit of your upbringing. What was your childhood like? And then what got you into whatever came first, whether it was the creative space or it was martial arts. Like, what got you into up to there? So, like, from what you could recall.
Yeah. So when it came to photo and video editing or filming, I used to, like we were saying before, I used to scooter. So I used to do it like professionally for like companies where I would do tricks for them or create videos to showcase on YouTube and kind of be like, oh, like a sponsor, you know, we're repping this company, right? And so naturally, when I was at the skate park, I would just film either myself, film people, and then nobody really knew what they were doing when I was like around, let's say 15, 16, 17. But we were just like, okay, let's pick up a phone and start moving and filming these guys.
So not to cut you off, but how did that opportunity come about? Like, how did you land that sponsorship? So you were making money from at 15, like doing
so
that
no,
stuff?
at the time they would kind of just give you parts.
Okay.
Like let's say like a skateboard, they'll give you a deck or wheels. But for scooters, they'll give you the thing that you stand on,
Gotcha.
the bars, things like
So
that.
how did that come about? Like, how did you land that whole thing?
Yeah. So there was this. It's been like when I was 2015. There was this like hometown kind of skate store, and so they would like kind of sponsor kids from the neighborhood to post their stuff on. I think Instagram was coming up back in 2015, and just share their stuff at the skate park. And so they were, I don't know if they would grab like kids who are really good, but people who they perceived as good, right? And so we would kind of just, you know, be at the skate park, tell the people like, oh yeah, go check them out, go to this part if you need to fix your scooter, if you need to buy parts, things like that. And then from there, we kind of just took off. And it wasn't like I was like huge, like now maybe I would work for PFL in those companies, but it would just be more like for like a skate shop around the neighborhood.
Got you. So you did that for a couple of years, and then you had mentioned to me, why did you stop?
Yeah. So I did that from when I was from when I was like 12 to 15, 16, 17-ish, like the beginning of 17. But I had an accident where I lost my hearing. I was filming a part for a company like in California. I think it was Scooter Zone, if I remember correctly, in 2015. And so it was literally the last trick. I was not gonna do it, but my friend who was a professional at the time, he was like, bro, you can't leave it like that. You gotta end with a banger. I'm like, and he's telling me this at like 10 p.m. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna just send it out. If I make it and win the competition, okay, let's do it. But if not, it is what it is.
So it was a competition that you were doing?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
So different people for this company, we would like submit videos, and the winner I think would get flown out.
Got it. So it wasn't like there was a crowd. It was just, hey, we got to like submit a banger.
Yeah.
Got you.
No. So it was like a 2-minute video, but usually like just with any video, you want the last seconds to be amazing. Wow, the people, you know.
Memorable, yeah.
And so I wasn't gonna do it, and he convinced me. So the next morning at 10 a.m. we were at Main Street Flushing. I think it's called Library 10 or something, the staircase. We're there, we're setting up, and mind you, it's packed, that area in Flushing Main Street. If you ever go, there's always people walking around. So we're waiting for the time for kind of the space to kind of free up. We're waiting. At some point, my friend was just like, yo, we're gonna stand on this end. Someone's gonna stand on this end and tell everyone stop while we film this. And so I was a little like nervous about it because it looked like a pretty steep staircase. But when you have a crowd around you, the emotions of like I gotta show up and I gotta show off.
Yep.
You know, kind of.
Can't back out now.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't
back out now.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I'm going up to it. I walk up to it. I come back. Walk up to it. Come back because the nerves are there. At some point, I jump, and it grinds a little bit, but it kind of gets stuck. And so I land with 1 foot on it, one foot off. But I'm like, okay, let's do it again. But since I got stuck, my friend was like, let's put wax on it. So I'm able to grind off it. Bro, he puts a lot of wax, but I'm like, okay. I mean, it felt good the first time. It's gonna go like that. And so I go on it, I jump. As soon as I land on it, my scooter goes in front of me, everything flips forward. And it's not like I fall like this. It's kind of like, there's like some momentum behind it.
So are you falling on the staircase or are you falling on the very bottom?
I fall
of
on the floor, but mind you, I'm like 5'2". The height of it was like 6 feet. In the air, 6 feet up high, like, you know, and from that height, I fall and I knock out, right? I have a seizure. Obviously the only thing I remember is I'm looking up in the air and everything goes black. And then the next thing I remember is I wake up, my friend is like, because it's in the summer, so it's hot out. He's standing on top of me with this shirt all around him, so the sun's not hitting my face. they told me, yeah, yo, we were panicking, like you weren't waking up, and so we're trying to have you wake up. Huh?
¿Eh?
Spanish.
Sí. Yo no sé porque yo no soy de aquí. Do you know about?
You could tell him it's 2-hour parking over there.
Ahí,
No, the one, the public one.
Él dice que este es de 2 horas.
No, the free one, the one where we
Which
parked.
one? Oh,
Where we parked.
al final, a la izquierda, hay uno gratis. Oh,
I think it's this. So you park your car here and the ferry's down.
Él dice que este para el ferry.
Yeah.
Este
Yeah.
para el ferry. Aquí. Ajá. Al final.
You have to, yeah.
Todo al final para allá. Ajá. De nada. Cuídese.
So, I speak Spanish. I'm bad.
Where you from?
I'm Mexican.
Oh shit.
And
okay.
Dominican. Both. So,
I said the Mexican.
I know you're Mexican.
Yeah.
Right? Are you full Mexican?
Yeah. Well, I was born here, but
Yeah.
that's
No,
like
representing
my
them.
ethnicity. Yeah. Yeah. Where are you from, Jesse?
DR.
DR.
Dominican. I was born there too.
That's the only reason why I tolerate them, because I'm happy.
I like the
Sorry, I'm
dynamic.
his translator.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go like, oh yeah. Him.
What's funny is that people probably look at him like, you speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, I got you.
Yeah.
It's all right, I got it.
I knew that was coming. I was like, he's slowing down. I was like, he's gonna say something,
Uh-huh.
but I thought it was for something. Anyway, where were we?
The story.
You're talking
accident.
about the
Yeah.
accident. You get
So I wake up, my friend's standing over me with the shirt around him, so the sun's not getting in my face. But
how long before you wake up? Like how long?
I
has it
think
been?
they told me like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't think too long, because I mean I was having a seizure, so everyone came in and they were like, I guess they threw water in my face. They told me to wake up because they said they would slap my face and I wouldn't wake up. So they threw water in my face, and they're telling me like, oh yeah, you fell, you're bleeding from your ear, but it's all right. We called the ambulance to come in. And so I just see like to my right a crowd of people like there, because it's packed. So they're all just watching to see and see if I'm okay, I guess. But the ambulance comes in, they put me in the back. And honestly, the scariest part about the whole thing was when they put the neck brace over my neck, because like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I remember telling the woman there, the nurse, yo, I can't breathe. Can you take this off? And she's like, no, we gotta make sure you didn't break your neck, things like that. And I'm just there like, but I think it's because I'm hyperventilating more than anything, you know. But we get to the place and they start ripping my pants, they start ripping my shirt to make sure, like, I don't know, to check up on me and to put the overall over to you know, to get me into the room.
Gown and all that. Yeah.
Long story short though, I'm like, yo, I keep hearing this ringing. Maybe it's because I just got hit hard, but I hear it the whole time because I was in the hospital for I think 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
I think on the second day they came in because I told them, yo, I keep hearing this ringing, it's so uncomfortable. So they check it out. I think the third day they tell me, yeah, so what happened is you fractured your cochlea, which is, from what I remember, I'm not a doctor or anything, but from what I remember, I think it's the nerve through which your hearing passes through. So when it fractured, it kind of split it and cut it. So unlike someone who has to get a hearing aid to amplify the sound, I can't really hear anything at all. It sounds like someone, so I can't really make out anything, even if they were to put a hearing aid.
Wow.
So.
And so what was that like for like your family, like when that whole thing went down?
They were, I mean, as a mom and dad, they're devastated, you know. My dad's kind of holding it together, keeping it calm and everything. My mom's breaking down like, why would you do this? You're never doing this. I told you, because if you look at my elbows, bro, it's not like it's the first time I got injuries. I'm filled with scars on my elbows here, and on my knees not so much, but here more so, because when I would land and fall, I would kind of put my elbow down to you know, take away the impact. So they would always tell me like, yo, you shouldn't be doing this. Why don't you do something else? Play soccer, do another sport that's not so...
Something safer, right?
Yeah.
Gets into martial arts.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
I was gonna say, so how did that moment impact, you know, your mindset or perspective moving forward?
Well, so at post the injury, I mean, for about a month, I was still trying to get trying to walk again, because it messed up my equilibrium. You know, so I remember the first couple walking sessions in the hospital. As soon as I took my seat off, I was going down. Yeah,
Wow.
everything was off, and they caught me. And so we would practice for a couple of days because I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to be home. But the next couple of days after, I was kind of bedridden for like the first week. The second week, I would take a couple steps. Third week, I was, running, but I was kind of jogging like that. And then by the end of the month, I was walking fine, feeling a little bit of that nausea type of feeling. But I still scooted like a year and a half more afterwards, you know.
So that's so interesting. Now that you go in depth about that story, is like, would you say that was like the hardest point that you've experienced like in your life up until that point? Because I gotta imagine like not being able to walk, or like almost like hitting a reset on your day to day, like that's gotta mess you up. You know, like that's gotta do something up here. Like you're like, am I even gonna be normal again? Is it like, how am I gonna deal with this for the rest of my life? Like did that ever cross your mind?
I think looking back on it, it was more so on my parents' mind, like that, like telling me, your heart, you know, you should have thought about this, because losing your hearing, you know, it's gonna impact your whole life. But being 15 years old, I was like, the whole world's right here, you know, like the whole world is next day, next week, next month, but you don't think so far ahead. At least for me, I wasn't thinking so far ahead. So I was like, Mom, it's okay, you know, I still have 1 year, you know.
You see the bright side.
Yeah. So at the time, like, it was bad, but I was trying to look at the positive. And it came naturally to look at the positive for me.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
where did, now, fast forwarding a little bit, what came after that? Was it more getting into like the hobby of picking up a photo, video skill, or was it going into martial arts and then you picked that up?
So I scooted for a little bit because I still wanted to get better, and weirdly I kind of did get better at it. Maybe having that feeling of, man, I got to prove that I'm still that guy, right? But I stopped because, I don't know, the sport died out, and at least where I was living around, I think about a year and a half, 2 years passed, and I'm like, yo, I got to do something. I don't like soccer, I don't like football, I don't know anything about any sport. So I'm like, I looked at this martial arts place in Astoria because my mom owns a dry cleaner there, so I'd always be around the area. And my parents were against it. They were like, no, why are you gonna, you know, put yourself through something? Don't you remember what happened?
Another dangerous thing.
Yeah.
He won't stay away from the adrenaline.
So I ended up going in there one day because I'm like, yo, I want to do something. This looks cool.
And you're how old at this point?
18.
18, okay.
18.
So you can make your own decisions. You can you don't gotta get parents' approval or anything.
Yeah, but at the time, like, they helped me with so much and they backed me up in a lot of my decisions. I was like, it was weird to like not do something without them having my backing.
Right. You want to have that support. Like, you don't want to go against their word. Although you know you have the full right to make this decision for yourself, you hold their opinion and respect their wishes.
I mean, because I know that like I could have made the decision either ways, but I respect them a lot, and so having that like behind me, like you said, you know, it was a big support for me to make that decision. But I went up there either ways. I got a free trial class. I took it. I paid for it. Weirdly enough, though, after I signed up and made the decision, I came back. I'm like, yeah, I just signed up. They started helping me pay for it, and they got on board. You know. I don't know if you want to stop.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Should be quick.
Sorry, quick intermission.
This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you film outside.
In the wild.
And by the way, and I want to come back to that. The whole reason why, number one, we do it outside is we don't have a studio, right? But like the whole, what I love about doing it outside is that there's no excuse of why someone, if they wanted to do something like this, they could. Like, right? Like, you shouldn't, I don't have a location, I don't have the best, I don't have a $10,000 camera, all these different things. It's just a matter of getting up and doing it. So for us, it was always like, hey, like, let's just get it done. No matter, like, if it's raining, we'll figure something out. But the idea was to just like, don't make excuses, like, let's make it happen. So like, I can't help but being outside, and we also like the nature. Like, we walk, do a lot of things outside.
Yeah. So you're gonna see us out here in the winter time.
Yeah.
With these huge North Face.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Honestly, I think that would go viral. We're doing a podcast in our jackets. We have a campfire and everything.
That's fire. We might have to do that. Going back to what you were saying. So you then come in and mom, dad, I want to do this. Hey, they're not really backing it, but you. So what were you doing at that time for like money? Like you were doing like.
Oh no! So I mean, I think at the time so my first job was at a restaurant. I think my second job was Abercrombie. I was working at Abercrombie.
Okay.
And Fitch.
You were doing the shirtless model, like that was you.
I
At
wish.
the time? He's pulling chicks. Right.
I was working just retail.
Okay.
You know, putting the clothes away, working cashier sometimes, and so, yeah.
At the time, did you have a general direction of what you wanted to do with life, or?
So no, not really. I mean, at the time I was reading, I think, a lot of like psychology books, but what I was gonna go into college originally was just business, because I got into Baruch. So I'm like, snap, I gotta just, I guess, do business. It's a business school, so I mean, people look at you like, do business. But honestly, I wasn't that good at math, so I was like, I stuck it for a semester, and I'm like, I look at all the courses that I gotta take, like, I think it was accounting, not calculus, and I'm like, snap.
Shiver.
Yeah, man, I was like,
I feel pre-cal, like.
yeah, and so I was like, yeah, let me switch over to psych, and so I did psych.
Now, did you want to go to school from the jump, or was that something more your parents' wishes, like let me follow what they want me to do, or did you actually like, hey, this is a path that I want to go down?
It was a mixture. It was like that for the most part, but I was also like, I mean, I don't know what else to do. I mean, if I leave now, I'm just gonna keep working at like a restaurant, do retail, and I saw people like that were like maybe 10 years older than me, and I'm like, do I want to be there? I was kind of reflecting a little bit about that, and I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it.
Gotcha. Hold on. I think he's almost done. He's doing
Hopefully,
long trip.
yeah.
So you go to school.
Yeah.
You're doing martial arts at the same time,
Yeah.
right? What's that balance like? What was? Can you continue on that?
So I still had the financial stability of my parents. So I was like, okay, I'm working part-time, plus my family's helping me out. So I'm like, let me keep. I would train, I think, 3 or 4 times a week. I would go there like.
Now this is Tiger Showman's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the
Because you
first
said
time.
martial arts school, I wasn't sure if it was Tiger Showman's yet or it was a different.
Oh no. That's
Okay.
the only like martial arts place that I've been to, as of at that moment. So I was just doing that, going to college, living my life, basically, at the time.
Gotcha. And then continue going. Like, where did things start to change? Did you finish school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I finished it a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, or no, a year ago. Yeah.
And at that point, when does the creative work come in?
So, weirdly enough, I started going to the gym, and while I was doing martial arts, I was like getting into powerlifting, and let me backtrack. So, I got a camera. I think when I was like 17, I took a couple photographs, but I didn't stick with it. It was more like you start something, you're like, eh.
What kind of camera was it?
It was a Sony A6600.
Oh, no.
I still have it
That's
actually.
pretty good. That's a pretty good
not
first
bad,
camera.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
You had mirrorless already? Okay. What were you
it-
shooting at that time?
Just whatever. Like I was with my friends. I had a lot of friends who were like sneakerheads.
Okay.
So I would take photos of the shoes, or go to the city, take photos of them. That
But at that point, it was like a random hobby. It wasn't
Yeah.
so much like, this is what I'm gonna get into.
Yeah. So there was no real direction. So I think that's why like I just put it down. You know. Fast forward, let's say 3 years later, I think. Yeah. Because I did it for about 2 years. I put it down. Fast forward, going into powerlifting. When I was, I think, 21, I started doing that. And I feel like when I get into something that I really like, I just put everything into it. You know, which hence scootering, hence Tiger Showman, been doing it for so long. And now powerlifting, I competed. I got injured, but I competed, you know. And we're at the gym, and I'm like, I start seeing the trend of like people doing the gym and like posting their videos, posting vlogs, and so I'm like, yo, let me hop on, let me film my training. I still have a couple of videos there on Instagram right now, so.
And now at that point, what was your, like, how did you obtain that skill? Were you watching YouTube videos? Like, what were you doing to gather that knowledge of like how to shoot properly, so to speak?
Well, I would just look at the Instagram people, like what they were doing, and like these fitness models or whatever, and then couple that with like YouTube, you know, and you got the best of both worlds, you know.
Yeah.
So learned everything that I
And this was still you by yourself? Like you didn't have like friends that were doing it?
Yeah,
with
no.
you?
I mean, I just bought a tripod on Amazon. It was like, let me put it there, put my camera, and then just film myself.
Like you're a pioneer. Early days of that, because now everyone's doing it. Everyone puts down their phone and starts.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
themselves.
my gym, bro. It's all it is tripods and cameras.
The whole time.
Whole time. Like,
Interesting.
but my gym is like, I don't want to call it an info. It's a really nice gym, like lighting and everything. Like it was meant with the intention of like, if you take a photo, it's a fire picture.
Go.
So I'm actually planning on doing a shoot this Thursday with one of my guys that I'm working with, and we're gonna be doing like photos there. But he lives all the way in Red Bank,
Right.
New Jersey. So he's coming all the way up just to do it at that gym because he knows it's like a nice.
So let's
area.
can we segue real quick into this topic, because I don't know that much about it because I've never filmed myself working out or anything like that. So when you film those moments, how much of that is genuine versus how much of that is like I need to get, like, do you have a shot list, or like is there a certain intention behind it?
I mean, do you want to answer it?
No, go for it. Because I have a take and I have a percent. Because I know yours. So here's the difference. My gym is more like there's both powerlifters and bodybuilders. Main difference is like powerlifters are trying to go for like huge amount of weight, versus bodybuilders are more aesthetic. They're more like, I look at powerlifters as like more rugged, more raw, versus bodybuilders are more of like that, like, I don't want to take away from Rocky Balboa, but like that montage, that like let me do a bunch of different things and like make it look a certain
Would
way.
you say
versus
one
powerlifters
is
are
more
just
about performance and the other one's more performative? Is that kind of
yes,
how it is?
I would say bodybuilding, and I'll probably get some hate for this, but like
Canceled.
cancel it. Bodybuilders are more performative. They're more of that theatrical. Like you look massive, but you probably can't hit that much weight. Powerlifters are like how tall did you say you were?
5'2".
How much do you weigh?
130 right now.
130, and how much can you probably deadlift? Like,
So back when I was segueing into it, back when I was deadlifting, I went up to 138. So powerlifting, I had the belt, I had the sleeves, I had the wraps, but like if I was deadlifting, like my PR without the wraps, just clarifying, just the people,
yeah.
without the wraps, just the belt, and that's it. Deadlifting, I think my max was 380.
Wow.
And I have the video, like, so.
And I like how he prefaces it. That's without the belt. So if I had the belt, I could do more.
This is
because that's how it works.
This is a sticky topic.
Yeah?
It's like the Apple Spotify conversation. It's like Sony Canon's conversation. People, you're gonna.
So what is it that you should lift with the belt or without the belt? Is that the argument to be made, or what's?
No, I mean, there's that argument, but then there's in the powerlifting industry, like, it doesn't count if you wear wraps. If you're deadlifting, it more so counts just wearing the belt. That's it. That's all you need. Like, because when you do it competitively, that's depending the event. That's what you wear. You know, just the belt and you lift.
And chalk, right? I think that's what you're
chalk,
allowed. Yeah. I got a belt at one point because I got serious into lifting, but it was never competing or anything like doing crazy numbers like that. I think the max I've deadlift ever was like 300.
Okay.
And like I was maybe 18. I weighed like I think 140 or something like that. But I never did it to like what's my next PR and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But going back to like the filming aspect of it, powerlifting, it's like more impressive of what you're actually doing.
Okay.
Versus I think bodybuilding, it's more of like, I don't know if you've seen like those motivational on Instagram, like with the text on it, and the guy's running, and it's like this Rocky Balboa montage.
Yeah.
I think the powerlifting argument's a little bit different. I don't know. Would you say it's a little different, or?
I think even in powerlifting, like they're doing it as well now. Like you see a lot of motivational stuff from a lot of like influencers that I watch even now. They're either doing something motivational, something cinematic looking, like them lifting.
Who are some people that you watch?
Huh?
Who are some people that you watch?
So there's someone called Mags. I think KG.
Okay.
Mags.kg. He was he's pretty big now, but a lot of my style coming up was based on watching those influencers and then watching like those car videos when it was trendy.
That's what I was gonna ask you too. I noticed on your Instagram you did like a lot of cars and,
Yeah,
things like that. Were you into cars, or it was just bleeding into like, okay, this is what is in, so like let me see what this is about, and then you get into it? Like, how did that come about?
So I just thought it was cool to watch. So I was like, this is cool. Let me film some cars and do that. But I feel like a lot of those people who are at the top and kind of do that content have the connects. I didn't really, so I'm like, because I think for one of my car videos that I first did, I filmed like my friend whose dad had like a Honda. I don't know what, maybe a Honda Civic.
I think it was a Accord. I think it's on your Instagram.
I think yeah.
It was an Accord, I think.
Yeah, and Williamsburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I just kind of did what I learned, what I saw, and put it in that. But even moving past that, when I was getting into the gym videos, a lot of the style, a lot of the transitions, the effects, I got it from that. Now in my style, not so much, because I have like a different concept of what I want to do. But coming up, I was trying to see, okay, let me be different, because so many gym influencers are doing that. So how can I mix both worlds together?
Yeah.
You know.
So then, when would you say, or maybe a better question is, would you say you have a definitive style now, or is it still something that's like, no, I'm still like figuring it out? I feel like as creators, we're always figuring it out.
Yeah.
But would you say now you have a better idea of your style?
Like you said, I think it's always changing. I mean, I would say I'm still pretty early on in my career. I think I've been doing filming for like a year and a half.
Okay.
You know, almost 2. So, yeah. So it started with those gym videos, just making reels. It morphed into like, as I'm reflecting now, I don't know, I would have to look at it. Let me but right now it's more like going into cinematic type of things, because I have a couple goals going forward, but cinematic, storytelling a little bit, or just cinematic.
Gotcha.
Like if you look at Instagram Reels, there's like a trend right now of putting a camera down on a tripod and just capturing something that looks good in composition wise, or speaks life into the video.
There's a guy, Danny Gewurz. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a Philly filmmaker.
Yeah, he's familiar, I think.
And he does a lot of these things. And it was probably a thing before, but I learned it from him. It's called like moving images. That's what he calls it. Like, I think that's the title of it. And all it is just, it's a video of a landscape. And there's barely, it's like, imagine filming the building right there, and you have people walking ever so subtly. It looks like a picture, but it's moving.
I know what you mean.
So it's not meant to be this thing that there's a lot of action going on, but it's just an image, but it's ever so subtle.
Yeah.
And I think there's like an artistic factor to it, just like, wow, it almost like teach you to stand still a little bit.
It's a moving still.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you started doing, I noticed the one in Central Park was sort of that style.
Yeah, exactly. So that one, and then there's another one that I titled, I think it was called Vive tu vida.
Okay.
Which is live your life.
Yeah.
Because I always come back to this idea in everything I do, and then less is more. And so the more I've grown in it, and then just learned so much, now I'm at a point where you don't need that. You know, if you do, then there should be a purpose behind it. And most times you don't necessarily need to do a pan, move, just let the art or the image speaks for itself.
Would you say, because I feel like this is something that I noticed maybe when TikTok started getting bigger, is that the more produced, more cinematic type of content was kind of like becoming played out, and the more organic, even stuff shot on a cell phone, so long as the content was there, I felt like that started to pick up more and starts to get shared more. Would you say you experienced something along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now that's the trend. I think film is the trend right now. And like, even when you see videos that don't maybe are not cinematic, there still be, because I think film, like that cinematic kind of idea came from films, you know, the way they were styled back then. So I think people are just kind of, it's getting a little overplayed. They're throwing it, like those effects with, you see that little square on the side?
The filmic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was using it, but I don't like to use it as much anymore.
And the whooshes and the drone sounds.
I stopped using that ever since people started using it more. Like I felt like I used to use that like for a lot of wedding films. Like, and so this is interesting, not to segue away from it, but like I've been doing like storytelling for a time, but it never sees the light of day because it was like wedding stuff, and that's not what I want to be known for. It's not an industry I'm interested in anymore. So like it almost felt like you had no work when you start, but you have all these like assets and all these things in your arsenal to use. And so I like, it's interesting now to see it's like, fuck, like I gotta like find something new or change it up because it's like overused now at that point.
And going back to your point, Jesse, I think that's what they've been doing on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and that's why that's the trend now. And it's still nice to watch, especially like the color grading behind it and everything. But I think we're reaching the end stages of it, and it's gonna be something new or a different form of it.
So I have a follow-up question. So going back to your story of, you know, you picked up the camera, you started to do gym stuff, now you're getting into cars a little bit. Did it ever cross your mind of like, hey, I can make money from this? Like, that's your plan, is like, I want to make money from this? When did that sort of happen, if you can recall?
Yeah. So not being in this game for so long, it happened. Everything I feel like happened pretty recently. There's so much, you know, that kind of changed. But like, let's say a couple, maybe like 6 months ago, half a year ago, because I was just doing work to like, because I enjoyed it. Even now I enjoy it, you know. So I'm just creating this stuff that I just want to see, like, if I could put a picture together. But in terms of like seeing if I can make money off it, let me see if I can remember it.
Because I'm curious, you graduate business school with a business degree,
Psych.
or psych degree. What's the game plan? Is it to get a job in a I don't know what's
as a therapist,
like things like that, or is it like, oh, like now can I apply this into cinema or whatever? Like, what was that's where I want to sort of dive into. So
that idea of like being a therapist and everything kind of came from my parents. You know, seeing your son like go to college, that's the dream, I think, for most, and then using that degree to get a job in a higher profession and then make a lot of money, get paid, and get the title. But
did your parents have an education?
No.
Okay.
They immigrated from Mexico, and I think at most my dad maybe had a high school degree.
Yeah, for like parents like ours, that's the goal. It's like, go to college, get a job.
Yeah, especially from parents that come from like a third world country. You know.
So you knew going into college, like, it's not about me. It's about my life, but more so, hey, my parents sacrificed a lot. They did this. This is the least I can do.
Yeah. You know, because it was like the last year was like a struggle. Like, man, I'm doing psych, and I enjoy the topic even outside of it, but I don't know if like I want to become a therapist or something in that field, at least right now. So I was like, it was a struggle to kind of get through it, but that idea of doing it for them kind of pushed me.
Got it.
To get through it.
So you get it done, graduate, parents are happy.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right now, I mean, just the idea of psychology or how people think, I use it a lot in the videos that I make. It's always the first thing that comes to me is like, what emotions can I give out from these videos? And I always try to do that, you know, whether it be with the people, with the transitions, with whatever it is I'm doing there. That's always my idea going into it, and maybe seeing how the colors play into role of like, let's say red, right? Red being a lot of passion or something like violence, things like that. Blue being more cold, more sad, and I try to see how I can use what I understand of how people think or how people are maybe react. And get them to react in that way through the videos that I make.
Got it. And I think that's such a great point to bring up, is like, even though you may not be a psychiatrist, right? That's what the title, or what is it?
Therapist, psychologist, a bunch of different
you know, where you're talking to someone and trying to get the depths of their mind, you're utilizing what you've learned and implementing it into what you're currently doing. And regardless if you go down that industry or not, it's going to help you in other aspects, including this right now. Like, you're probably thinking a certain way or like speaking in a certain manner because of this, and like, it's very interesting. You know, I look at myself, like, I went to school, you're a better man than me. Like, I only went for 2 years and I was like, yo, this is not it. Sorry, mom, dad, I'm done. But, you know, learning, I was in IT, so like learning how code worked and like learning a little bit of code, I did website designs for a little bit of time. I learned how to code on a website, how JavaScript worked and all these things. In the last episode we were talking about AI, like automation. I've been getting into that, and just because of the things that I've learned up until that point, and I wouldn't say like, this is a question I want to ask you, is like, would you recommend school for someone in your position, or that's sort of a question to come back to, but do you know where you want to go right now in your current stage? 23, you're currently co-founder of Bantam Shot, you're doing these things for PFL. Is this something you can see yourself doing for 10 years, 20 years? Like where are you at right now in that stage?
So there was a couple questions.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. let me go to the first one. If I see if college is for everyone, I don't think it's for everyone. Yeah, I did study psychology, but like I was saying earlier, a lot of it can be found in the books you're reading, and people on YouTube. Like there's people who say you can't learn everything from YouTube. Not everybody knows what the hell they're saying, but there's a lot of professionals who are on YouTube as well, right? You just gotta make sure you do your due diligence and know who you're listening to, right? But that being said, there's people, in the industry making movies who maybe didn't study psychology, but there is common sense, there is understanding like color psychology. I didn't have to go to psychology to maybe be in the position I am now of trying to get people to react in that way through my videos. You can do that on your own. Get a camera, and if you're really passionate about it, learn it, do it all the time, and then that'll slowly, come about.
So would you say it's just not the only path, right?
No.
Like the same information you could learn in college, it's not necessarily directed towards a specific topic or major. There's infinite knowledge out there. It's just knowing what to look into.
For sure.
And you would say going into a specific path, you're gonna eventually end up there, right? Like you said. So if I'm someone that didn't go to school for psychology, but I'm into film, I'm gonna end up going my on a day of Googling like emotions, you're gonna get the color wheel, and you're gonna get those colors, and you're gonna get the emotions tied to it, because it happened to me last week. You're learning about all these different colors and what their meanings are, how people are impacted by it. But I didn't go to school for psychology, so
exactly.
You don't need to.
Yeah, sorry. But that's why someone could have a degree or someone could have a job title, but that doesn't mean they know everything in the world. That doesn't mean they can help you solve your own problems. That just means they're specialized in one thing, but their whole life is messed up, right? Like a common, like it's a stereotype, but a common thing that I hear from my family, from a lot of friends, that psychologists are the most fucked up. The most
I've
people,
heard that.
yeah,
I've heard that too.
right? So maybe they'll help you solve your own problems, but they're hypocrites themselves. They can't solve their own problems.
Well, for a lot of them, I think that's, at least from what I know, that's a lot of them. That's why they get motivated to be in that industry, because they're trying to figure out themselves as well as they go, why certain things in their lives affected them certain ways, and how they could help others with it.
For sure.
So, yeah.
But like I said, that's why I try not to judge anyone by judge a book by its cover. I try to see people as they are, because even someone who may not be in quote unquote the position you're at up here, but they may know a lot of things that open your eyes and give you new perspectives.
You've had a whole experience, right? Like no one can take away your experience.
Exactly.
And although it's not, depending on what lens you're wearing, they might be here, and the other person might be here, but this experience, this person never did martial arts. This person did martial arts. They would have a whole different leverage point when it came to that topic. So yeah, no, 100%. And then my next question I already forgot was, the goal, right? The dream. Do you think you have that figured out, or where are you at there?
Yeah. So continuing on with what I do now, sports, mixed martial arts. So the goal that I want to take Bantam Shot with is just become all coverage. Be more than just videography and photography. I want it to be like a news outlet for MMA. A news outlet for MMA, and then maybe also go to be like a media company at the same time, and go to different gyms, work for those guys, go to different athletes, work for these guys, have everything in one place.
Being someone that has been in those shoes, right, of these athletes, of these fighters, how do you think you're at an advantage versus someone who comes in and wants to be in that industry but they've never stepped in their shoes?
So it's funny. I was actually having that conversation with my partner Usama. So, being at PFL, there's people who maybe just how do you say it? They signed up for the position, right? But they don't have any experience in mixed martial arts. They just did a quick like,
I need a job. I need a like.
Yeah, and
oh,
they're
camera
like,
operator.
Yeah.
Me.
Like, so for example, I used to do, at the studio that I worked at here in Jersey City, I used to create content for Showtime Boxing. But I go into this, I know nothing about boxing, nothing about athleticism whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to piece these stories together just based off what I can, these hype videos or whatever.
Yeah.
But dude, I don't know like the specifics about how they train or like what certain rules are. So I feel like it's a whole different dynamic, I'm sure, coming from someone like you.
Yeah. Not to say anything about people who don't have experience in a certain industry, because that's just normal. Maybe you get, doesn't have to be sports, but it could be any industry that you get in because you need a job or you just see an opportunity, whatever it is. But yeah, there's people who don't have that experience. They get into it and maybe they do their job, but they don't find the depth of what people really want to hear. And that's what the difference is. But being someone who's had that experience, have competed, is looking to compete in these amateur fights myself, I'll have that knowledge. I'll know what these fighters are going through, if they're going through a weight cut, if they're in camp, post-fight, meal preps, all of it.
And I just want to share really quick to add on weight cuts. Like, that was such an experience for me. So Christian was nice enough to let me record like the entire weight cut. Like, dude's naked. Like, so full disclosure, like how I know Christian. I went to high school with him, but I was never close with him.
Yeah.
So we started to like, hey, bro, like I'm trying to get into like the health and wellness industry. I really like what you're doing. Also talking about what masculinity is. We're living in a time now more than ever when things are being like, everyone's confused on what's what, and so I'm very like, you're 24, you're about to have your second child, and you're fighting for a living while also working. Like how are you doing all this? Like that to me at the time, what I was going through, it was like, this guy's doing everything. How are you staying sane? How are you not like, do you get depressed? And all these different things.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot, filming and just following his story. We were doing the weight cut, and I was like, wait, fighters do this stuff? Like they have to make weight, and you hear about weight cutting, but you don't actually see it. Like, this dude is lifeless. His body, he's laying on the bed, sweating, because you have to wear a hat. You're trying to preserve all that heat, and you just see his eyes like roll to the back of his. Like, he looks like he's death.
Oh no.
And to be there, and you're like, so how are you feeling, Christian? Like you can't do it. Yeah, no.
No, it's an intense moment.
And
man.
and you want to it's like for a documentary, so you want to like get some things going in regards to like, how are you feeling, or like Sensei, like how does it feel to see him go through this? It's like, now's not the time to ask questions. You sit there and you fucking shut up and you watch the shit happen. Like, it's so interesting. But
like
I just
what you said about moving images. That's moving images.
Yeah.
It's intense. I mean, I haven't been through a weight cut. Once I do fight amateur, I am gonna just cut about 10 pounds, which is not so much, because I'm.
You have what, like 13 weeks?
5 pounds. Huh?
How many weeks do you have, like, when you get a fight, typically?
They try to do it as, it depends. At amateur levels, honestly, you gotta just take what you can get, because no one's like professional, right? They're amateurs, so it's not like they're living off this, so they can back out. They can. You're like, let's say you're with your opponent, came in, you came in, you agreed to it. 1 month in, they're like,
nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I hurt myself.
It's lower stakes.
Exactly.
Overall.
It's high volatility, volatile or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the word for the for the episode. That's the vocabulary word.
Yeah, because there's no
Vitality,
consequences.
whatever you say.
Yeah, because there's no consequences. I mean, there's consequences if you're in the PFL, if you're like getting paid
Fined
to do
and
it.
all that,
Fine, they won't pay you, all of that, So sometimes it depends. It could be 3 months, 2 months, 2 days notice.
So now going back to what you were saying about having depth. So like when you were at the PFL and you have these people, you could tell, like, what were signs that like they didn't have that depth? Like, what did that look like?
So for example, my partner does a lot of the interviews. He asks a lot of those questions like, oh, how did it feel last fight, for example, when they were throwing that, they were setting you up for maybe that round kick. Like, did you know that was coming? Like, or in reverse, how'd you set up that round kick? Like, did you see something in the tapes that were making them drop their hand, making them like maybe do this movement over and over again? Like those type of questions where the nitty gritty of like, how'd you do that knockout? What was the training leading up to that knockout? Things like that.
Oh. So just gonna do a quick camera check.
Yeah.
That's what the alarm's for.
What's the time at?
We're at 11:53 and we are 55 minutes in.
Damn, that's an hour?
11:53.
Yo,
Yeah.
We started at like, I would say like 11, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
11 o'clock.
Are you good on time? I know
Yeah,
we
I'm
said
good on
till
time.
12, so I just want to,
Nah, okay.
because I have a lot of questions that I still want to get into, and I love the pacing. I love where we're going with it. So
We're just gonna have to take piss
pee breaks. Yeah.
All right, we're still good.
Everything looks good.
Everything looks great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, we haven't even really touched videography so much yet. So
Right.
that's why I'm
And listen, that's what I think. What's so beautiful about this industry is like I find all this information. It all bleeds into what you're doing today.
Yeah.
Like this stuff doesn't just happen. I was telling him like I talk to a lot of people that I work with or just like I can't recommend combat sports enough because for me and what I do now, it's like it's I don't want to say it like makes things easier, but there are moments when you're editing, and for me at times I'm like I don't want to edit. Like I can't. Like I just can't sit in a desk for hours on end. I'd rather like get my ass fucking beat in a sparring session than do this. But then you do get your ass beat in a sparring session. And you know what that feels like. It's like this is not as bad,
Yeah.
right?
Bunch of masochists.
What? Nasty, wouldn't you say?
Masochists. That's the word
Oh,
for
snap.
the
vocabulary of the thing?
That's the vocabulary word right here.
Masochist. what were we talking about before though? Before we rolled.
Like,
You
no,
was talking about the
the depth?
perspective.
Oh, the
of-
depth. So
yeah.
then he's asking those questions, and you're probably getting like good answers from that. So what were they asking? The people that you could tell like weren't in. Like what were the questions?
How are you feeling?
How are you feeling? Super broad.
Yeah. What are you gonna do after this? What was it like? What was the experience walking into the ring, being in there?
Is there a psychological factor that you think, from your perspective specifically, that's at play there when you're trying to get this content out of them?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just like anything, you gotta build up to that.
Mm-hmm.
You also gotta know how to talk to people. Like that's another skill. You know, you gotta know how to have conversations, and because right off the bat, maybe if you ask that question that you asked 10, 15 minutes later, they'll give you a different response. Like you say, oh, how'd you feel about like going back to that about setting up that kick? Maybe they'll give you like a quick response. Oh yeah, we just trained it in camp, and you know it came about. Versus once they get to know you, they're a little more comfortable, and I think it's more so that more comfort. Then they'll really go into it, and they'll want to tell you like if they're your friend, versus you someone interviewing them.
And that's what people like to see, right? They like to see that authenticity. They like to see like, oh, this guy's giving a genuine answer. I'm getting an insight into what he would say behind closed doors, maybe what it feels like.
Yeah.
So, follow up, like, talk to me a little bit about like, because you do the PFL interviews, and it's like they come, and I guess how does it work? Do you have like a position like, okay, interview 1, interview 2, interview 3? Are you getting one-on-ones, or everyone's filming the same thing? You're all getting the same answers. Like, how does that process work?
So my first experience going into it, I was just like, yo, I don't know what to expect, but it's a cool opportunity to go.
Yeah.
For a big industry, like
You got flown out, right, to Atlanta? Right?
For that one, we flew out ourselves. They just accommodated us with like the food there and everything, but it was more out of our pocket.
Got it.
To go and have the opportunity, because now from it, they hit us up to go to MSG.
Awesome.
Or they had that event with Shane. Like, even though I know him and from Tiger, the point being that they hit us up being like, oh, Shane Burgos is gonna be doing what was it called?
Promo day in Chelsea?
Yeah, like
Is
a
that
promo
one?
day type
Yeah.
of thing where he's fighting, just showcasing, answering questions.
Yeah.
So, you know, and from there, who knows? Can lead to a lot of other things, right? But yeah, so going into it, we came into the interview section studio, and then upstairs they would have the ring where they're fighting. And so after every fight, the fighters would come down and do a post interview. And so it's kind of like, I think you've seen it in Showtime Boxing. They have a bunch of microphones set up. They talk behind it, but behind them there's a bunch of cameras lined up. So it's kind of like on a first come first serve basis. There's the main camera in the middle that PFL is doing, and then there's a bunch of other camera from other mini companies.
Got it.
Right, so we set ours up, and then it's kind of like a free-for-all, at least there, where everyone raise their hand, you ask question, you ask question, you ask question.
I used to find those so nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
mean,
an intense environment. Like, especially like after the
Everyone's-
fight's over and everything, like you can feel it. Like, I'm not even in that industry, but I can feel like everyone's so tense, and then like
You take someone's angle, you might get into a fight.
maybe, I don't know, like you say the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Yeah.
And also when it's live stream, even more so.
Yeah.
Because like I remember standing there and being like, yo, we cannot mess this up at all.
So you had to ask questions too?
I didn't have to ask questions. I was just filming. But just being someone that's not in that environment and then coming into it and then everything just feeling so amped up, you know what I mean? It's just like, I really can't mess this up.
I think there's different stages, because UFC, if you see their post press conference, I think it's like a whole like huge room. This I would say maybe like it's a big room, but like in the room maybe there's like 20 people. Right? I think in the UFC there's like 40, 50, and they each have their own table, you know, stretched out. So I think, or even Showtime Boxing, I don't know how they work, but yeah, but the environment was cool. Literally raise your hand, ask whatever question you want, you know? You don't have to ask it, but I think people who are going to interview, I mean, you want to ask the question because that's things that you could post on your own website, your own page.
So now, one thing we talk about a lot is, and this is a saying that I picked up from someone else in the industry. He's a health and wellness photographer in Miami, Paul Weaver. He says, a community over competition. And you know, when you're in this industry, it's always, especially weddings more specifically, having been in that industry, it's always like this dog eat dog. It's a competition, photo, video, like, you know, we're separate companies, so I need to be the best, like, you know, I got to get that shot and you're sort of like in my way, that whole idea. And that's part of the reason why I like steered away from
Brian
it.
has a lot of PTSD.
Yeah, I have a lot of
when it comes
PTSD.
Really? I've heard a lot of crap from like weddings, but I'm like, because I've never experienced, I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool doing a wedding.
It's so funny. So more recently, we did a client of ours that we work with. He got married, and it was a super intimate wedding, and he didn't want to like hire anyone else. It was just like, hey, and I had explained to him. I said, hey, earlier this year, I told myself I was like, I'm retired from weddings. I'm no longer going to do it. I want to focus in this industry. And you know, out of like, I just saw it as goodwill. Like, hey, you know, we're doing business together as well. He's a good guy. Sure, you know, like I'll do your wedding. So I did photo for the wedding, and it was funny. Like, I have my weekends again, right? That's the one thing about weddings. You don't have weekends.
Oh yeah.
So this year I've had my weekends. I've done my thing, and this is the first time on a Saturday I go to do this. And towards the end of the night, I tell Jesse, I'm like, yeah, I remember why I left it, why I left. And it wasn't even anything about the people there. It's just there's so much going on. There's so many people, like
There's a lot of unpredictable factors, like just things are moving.
Things are moving, and people get a certain way because certain stakes are on the line. And I get it. Like, it's the same way with fights, right? Like with Christian, you know, you could tell he's in a mood because he's been weight cutting. You can't ask him that question. He's going to have that. But there's a beauty in having more control of what you're trying to achieve. With weddings, it's all documentary style. You have to let live. What is it the saying? Let
Take
live.
the punches and
yeah,
keep moving.
yeah, keep moving. Like people, there was an experience that he had that was like mind-boggling to me. The whole water situation.
Oh,
like
yeah. One time I was filming a wedding, and the catering supervisor denied me water on an August day, hottest day in August. Dude denies me water, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm just like, excuse me. I thought it was a joke, so I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, that's funny. He's like, no, it's. Oh, he said specifically, it's not for the help.
Yeah, this water's not for the help.
It's not for the help, and I'm like, whoa. First of all, because it's weird, because it's like you're also the help, dude. Like we're all the help.
Yeah,
like,
what the hell are you talking
about? But sure, talk
drinking.
down to me, whatever. But then I told him like, look, so if I pass out, it's on you, right? And then he gave me water. So like, there's stuff like that can happen in the wedding industry. That's just like, people don't treat you with respect kind of thing.
But is it more so the workers or the people like actually hosting it, like people getting married or the family?
It could be both. That's the whole thing about
Okay.
weddings, is that you can run into a dickhead photographer or videographer, like whatever you're doing and they're doing the opposite. Sometimes they can be great, or other times they can just blow you off and be super egotistical. They think, hey, I'm a New York photo photographer, whatever. I'm a big name, award winning. You're beneath me, right? Like there's that whole dynamic, and I think I don't want to take away from any, like, listen, even in martial arts, right, there has to be a level of humility that comes in, and the one thing I heard recently was, like, humility kills pride. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being proud of what you've accomplished, of who you are, but ultimately, like, you need to be humble to a certain extent. You don't think you're God, right? Like, and so going back to the original point of why I'm bringing this up, like community over competition, what is your current thoughts being a year and a half in? Have you experienced that whole idea of like, damn, like it's competitive out here and I gotta be like on my shit, I have to be the guy to be the guy.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that community element? What is your stance on that?
Let me start off with I think coming from like a psychology background and just being into stoicism, reading a lot of books, and just the way I was raised, I think people are the answer to everything. Any problem you have, whether it be you're looking for a job, yeah, you could have a degree, but if you know the right people, you'll get the job. In the industry, having the connects, right? People always say that the most important thing is the connects. There could be someone who, with not as much experience, maybe not the best equipment, not the best style, but because they know someone, they'll be in that position. They'll make the money.
Your network is your network.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, but not to say that I think of it as like let me know someone, be nice to them so I can get that. It's more so going back to, because I was raised of like, treat people nice, how you want to be treated how you want to be treated is how you should treat others, right? So when I like see other photographers and stuff, in the beginning, because like the first couple months, because I feel like I have something to prove, I want to be up there, and I feel like that's the mentality you should have, which is not once you understand that showing compassion or putting your hand out, or maybe doing a little extra than you would want, goes a long way. Right, so if I'm working with like a photographer there, like, and they don't know the areas the first time, I'll kind of show them around, like, oh, this is how it is, this is what you do, that's kind of a better angle to shoot. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna try my hardest when I'm there and beat the guy, right? And get my
It's like
work
that friendly
Yeah.
competition, same way in sparring.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In sparring, you're not gonna beat up the new guy.
Yeah.
Like you'll know how to push him a little bit to his threshold and bring him back down if he's a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my outlook on it.
Got you. So doing the things that you're doing now, would you say you're experiencing more of that community factor, or if you have, yes or no question, have you experienced the community factor of being in the industry? Yes, no?
Yeah, and I don't think I answered it. That's why I think.
Okay.
But, so
No, you're good.
let me reflect. So at PFL, yeah, like people, same way I was, like the example, people telling me like, oh yeah, he's next. Oh, get ready, he's coming in. Even though like the guy could have took the spotlight and just asked questions himself. He's like, oh yo, get ready. The fighters are coming in. You know.
Those are those little things that go a long way.
Exactly. And now.
Sorry, I was gonna just segue real quick, and then we could go back and say it reminds me of when photographers at weddings, they go to do the sunset shots without you.
Yeah.
Sometimes like they'll tell you, but then there's the people that don't tell you and they just go do it.
Yeah.
And now you missed it because you weren't informed.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Or something as little as when I'm at these these events like extreme cage fighting where they're doing that MMA thing and I'm in the cage. Something that I never thought of, but someone like kind of introduced me to that like compassion aspect was, he takes the shot in the middle with the guys, they're about to leave, but he's like, oh no, now look here, look at this camera guy.
That's awesome.
And then look at this guy. So everyone's getting the shots. So that I've felt that like community aspect, and I've shared it the same way.
Now, switching things up a little bit, part of the whole reason why we call it Creative Suit is because there's an element of business that comes into the creative work, right? Especially for people that want to take it serious or full time, and you would bantam shot. What are some things you've had to do recently that is almost contradictory to being a creative, right? Like, do you feel like you have to wear a different hat as a creative suit? The whole reason why we call it creative suit is because like you almost have to put on this suit when it comes to the business talk, when it comes to working for a specific project, sending out proposals, so on and so forth. So like I'm curious to know like what your experience has been like with that.
Well, I think because of the space that I'm in, whether it be sports or these tattoo events, thankfully it's not like I don't think I'd be able to get away with like maybe if I was in corporate. I'd have to wear maybe a polo, or I'd feel like they'll look at me the wrong way if I don't, do these things.
I mean, you look like you would walk into an office right now and you'd be fine. Like you look pretty.
Oh, I mean, I don't know, maybe, but
like,
I would think I'd have to wear polo.
Okay.
Because from my lack of experience being in that, but like being in these spaces, I can like let's say wear like a shirt with a design on the back here.
Be yourself.
Yeah, I could be myself and I could talk like myself. At these tattoo events, there's a lot of like different people. I feel people that can be themselves as well. That I feel I wouldn't be able to do it like in corporate. Right.
So it's like a casual business environment.
Yeah. And I could talk, maybe not like how I am in the street with some other friends, but I could kind of like go a little bit, and be myself with these guys.
So follow up on that is, how do you get to that point, right? Like let's peel it back to like, again, is it a business for you? I mean, bantam shot, I assume is a business where you gotta land these deals, or you're making negotiations, like you're having calls with these people, which you might have not had doing photo video work. It's like a different type of conversation you're having. So what has your experience been like, and how do you feel like, have you learned anything from it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like, is it the harder part of the job, right? Because at least for me, I didn't have that skill set. I had to like go out and figure it out, especially dropping out of college and having to like, okay, I got to make money, and this is what I'm committing to. I don't have a side gig or a day job. Like, this is it. So I have to learn the logistics of it.
So I think the main thing is just distinguishing, and like not distinguishing it just for them, but for yourself, so you don't feel guilty. But it's that there's friends and there's business, right? I could be your friend and everything afterwards, and we could have a drink depending the extent of that friendship and everything like that. But when it comes to business, there's also like, you have to understand that there's bills that I have, there's things that I gotta do to make my business grow, and you should respect that as a friend maybe, but more so as a business sense. So in the beginning, it was hard for me kind of knowing that, because I don't really have a business background. I can get along with a lot of people, but doesn't mean that I can say the price that I know I'm worth. So
why do you think that is? Like, why do you think you can't say that?
So maybe it's just it's all in your head. You're intimidated by that no, and you think that, and you're scared of rejection. At least I was scared of rejection, and to an extent I am now, maybe with certain people that I would look up to, but not as much as I was before. And that's what I think you have to get over as a creative. I think a lot of creatives have that hump that they have to mentally get over. And so for me, that was my obstacle, that felt like I couldn't say it. But now at this point, it's more so like I have to understand that I have these bills. There's a place that I want to get to, and that if someone doesn't respect that, it's okay. Just shows me who they are.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable. But do you have like a defining moment or a story where it was like, that's it, this is it, like I need to hold myself to a higher standard, like people need to see me, they need to give me the respect I deserve?
I think it's not that people were not giving me respect, because people gave me respect. It was more so just the accumulation of like not getting paid what I want to get paid, and feeling that over and over again. Like in the beginning it was cool because I love this project and it's just about that.
If you got paid, that was like bonus.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's still that now, and I never want to lose that, because then it's just a job.
Right.
Then it's not something I'm passionate about. But in order for me to do that, I have to also not feel bad with me saying, okay, I'm gonna charge you maybe $500 for this project, knowing in my mind this is like a $1,500 project, right? Because there's that love factor, but then there's that guilt killing me of, why it's gonna be hard for me to get through it.
No, we were just saying about like how reflecting on everything that you're saying up until this point, people at times, I don't know if you've had a moment, I know he asked about that one moment for you, but like you have those moments of like, this is it, right? Like you said, the world's right here. This is the worst thing that's gonna happen to me. I'm sad, I'm depressed, my life's over, nothing matters. Like for me, like growing up, it was like getting over a girl and like things that don't really matter, right? Like, but that's all that matters in that moment. You're someone, just based on your story, very resilient. Like I have to, because this happened to me and it wasn't a positive moment, I have to prove and make it a positive moment, or like come out from it. And it's something that I learning about stoicism, learning about just people that have grit in general, it's something that I don't think, like people talk about you're born with it, but I think over time, like anyone can learn that. Anyone can obtain that skill of being like, oh, this is hard. Like stoicism, going into what I was saying before, living in accordance with nature, right? Like if this happens, stoicism talks about you need to be able to understand that you don't control if it rains, you don't control where the sun hits, but you can control how you take that, right? Like if someone, God forbid, were to pass away near and dear to me, the only thing I can control is how it affects me. Mm-hmm. Do I want to be, sad or all these different things? Like how do I want to handle it? And that's the one thing I do have control over. But again, the humans are complex beings, and so I want to go back to what I was saying before about the idea of what were we talking about before? This is the thing, a beautiful thing about podcasts is like
getting back to the topic.
Yeah, you lose your train of thought. You're talking about business. You're talking about how
community,
the guilt and the passion of it.
So one thing about stoicism, talking about, and it's funny, like what you're saying about psychology. People are the answer. If you understand, if you wake up the next day and say to yourself like, oh, I'm gonna get backstabbed, people are gonna reject me, like you're gonna have the absolute worst day of your life, but you nod your head and say, okay, I'm still gonna go after it.
Yeah,
that's such a beautiful thing, because then it just allows you, gives yourself permission to just say, hey, if it doesn't happen, this is a great day.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the whole perspective change that's happened for me. So how did you get into stoicism, and like how did that come about?
Well, I've always been into like self-help. I think because like the reason I also got into kickboxing, and the reason I walked up those steps and asked for information into the trial class, was because I think maybe for like scootering, it was my identity. I lost it once I stopped, and I was like, okay, the sport's dying out, but I also got hurt. I mean, I don't want to keep getting hurt. My parents, a bunch of reasons, but I lost it, and for 2 years I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't really getting good at it. I was just in school and doing that, but I wasn't like developing my skill or myself. So fast forwarding into doing martial arts and everything, I got into it because of self-esteem issues. I wanted to make myself confident. I felt like I wasn't confident, and so I would always read about it. It's been a while because I haven't read so much about it anymore. Because I think
what changed within you pre-stoicism and post-stoicism?
I think it's the acceptance of like a situation. The acceptance of a situation. Not that you might still have a shitty time. It might still suck, and you're gonna feel that in the moment. But at least you're like, okay, I'm deciding to be here. I could make it worse by putting myself in that conversation, or maybe coming over here. You always have that choice, even those micro choices. So it's accepting that this is my responsibility, and that I can look at the bright side as much as I can, or I can look at the negative and just fall deeper into that feeling.
So I'm curious, like you say self-esteem issues, can you pinpoint a specific thing that you struggled with at that time that was like really bothering you?
I think at the time I was like, just speaking up, saying what I really feel, instead of hesitating and saying what I think is right to say. Maybe like in conversations, it could be, it's like if I raise my hand, like if I was in high school, as something as like, well, for one, I think even raising my hand. But two, if I do raise my hand, I'll just like giving my opinion, saying what I think is right. Oh, I think it's
Sky's blue.
Yeah. It's been so long, but yeah. Just having confidence, saying what I feel.
Would you say it's being able to? It's not just the confidence, but being able to stand on it and back it up and say, hey, like this is what I believe. We can debate it. We can talk about it. When you didn't have that self-esteem, it was, oh, I can't stand on this. I can't, like.
Or was it a fear of being wrong?
Yeah, people rejecting you, more so. I think the fear of people rejecting you, rejecting who you are. And for me, it was like, I would think like a no is not a no in itself. A no is a no of me. And that would kind of kill me, inside. So, or like when I was with my friends, right? Because this is where it mostly happens, I feel. Yeah, you're cool with your friends, but I feel like sometimes, depending on the group, at least where I was, there's always that one who's picked on, or there's levels to it. Huh?
Were you
I
that?
wasn't that, but I was more so the one that people know they could let things slide, right? There's the one who's getting made fun of, but he's there in the group because he wants to fit in. Yeah. And then there's the one who's like,
I probably should say something, but I won't.
Yeah. The other way.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Or they could kind of be like, come on, bro.
Get on him.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was that one.
Okay. Would you say that this sort of segued into business eventually as well? Like, for example, I think for me, it's like in the beginning, back to that being rejected or that idea of being told no, I feel like I used to overextend myself to clients because it's like I want the yes.
Yeah.
I don't want the no. I don't want them to be like, never mind. Now I'm at a point where if someone doesn't want to book me, I'm like, okay. Because I have that confidence now that, look, other work's going to come. The more work that's going to align with what I actually want to do is going to come. But in the past, I used to be the one like chasing, like following up, like, oh, I could do this for you too. I'll throw in the drone and I'll throw in this, like whatever, So like, do you think that affected the way you look into business?
Yeah. And that's why I said I was afraid of like saying no. I was afraid of giving a higher price because I didn't know how what they would tell me. But that mentality, I mean, like that you have and that we should all have is like, of course it's easier once you have the money. You have an abundance of clients and everything, but it's hard when you have nothing. Yeah. But if you have the mentality now, you can siphon through the people who are going to give you a lot of shit. Or maybe you can choose to accept those because you need the money right now. But the difference is you're accepting it because it's a strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Not because
you didn't know any better.
Yeah, or you did know, but you're afraid of saying something.
Right.
Yeah, no, 100%. One thing I want to dive into is you have a business partner, right, in Bantam Shot. How does your dynamic work with that? Because he's talked in the past about having worked with people in the past. What does your relationship look like? How did that come about? What does that dynamic look like today?
So it came about because he saw my work, like my personal work of just filming and editing, even before the tattoos and everything that I was with these guys. But I was just filming and editing and posting videos that I thought looked cool. I forgot what exactly video I was posting at the time when he reached out to me, but we were training at headquarters, which is the base of New Jersey where all the fighters train. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, you do videos, right? You're that guy. And I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, oh, okay, do you also do photos? And I'm like, yeah, I do photos. Not as much as I did before, but at the time I was like, yeah, I do photos. And so he invited me to that first event. I think it was called the Ring of Combat. Where like people like from Tiger Showman, like I think
it's like amateur. Oh, is it pro? No, it's still
it's amateur, but it's called a feeder for like the UFC.
Got it.
So a lot of like CFFC, or it's like CFFC, which is another promotion where UFC looks at those events, and depending how you perform, your record, they'll elevate you to that stage. Gotcha. So he invited me to one of them, and it took off. I mean, we started doing photos. I would take photos with him at the places, and that's it. And then I kept doing my video things at the side. And I was like, yo, bro, why don't we just film and then create these videos for them? And so I started.
So it was your idea, or it was
My idea, yeah, because I want to do just video. You know, I don't mind taking pictures here and there, but if I had to specialize, I would do video, right? So I started doing that more. He did photos, and we're at a point now where it's like, he mostly does the photos. Here and there, if he needs me, like if he can't get this shot and he says like, we need to get this fighter because he's the main event guy, I'll do 2 rounds of video around the photos. And so the dynamic of working together is, it's simple as I do video, he does photos, we can collaborate, but then it goes into, we have a good relationship talking to each other, you know. He also, I think, studied psychology.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And he's a professor.
Oh really?
Yeah. So, you know, he understands, like, I guess why you might having a shitty day, and he's compassionate. So maybe he'll be cool with me, he'll understanding, or he'll help me out through a situation. There's that, and then because of that, if there's something we don't agree on, you know, being that we both understand each other, you know, we can come to a compromise.
So I would love to dive deep into that. You don't necessarily have to get specific, but what does that look like? You know, what does a disagreement look like? And how do you come to a solution? Do you have a specific example that you might be able to?
Yeah, so now as we're like pricing, right? I feel like that's a big
Hot
hard
topic.
point in anything, hot topic in anything, right? So for us, it's understanding our value, but one of us sometimes being like, oh, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should, even though we both know what we do is high quality work, right? So it's like trying to push each other up there. I'm like, no, bro, let's charge this price. If they say no, they say no. And at first it was like, we're going back and forth, maybe this, maybe that, you know, maybe the client would feel a certain way. And I'm like, yo, if we stay here, we're gonna stay here longer, and it's gonna be harder, you know.
And so that's another thing you guys discussed. Is like you're somewhere where you are trying to get out of.
Yeah.
Right. So making those proactive steps to whether it means charging more or whether it means working with like maybe turning down clients, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's the step you need to do in order to get out of where you currently are.
Yeah.
And so that's something you both agree on, right?
But there was back and forth of like, should we do it now or later?
Yeah.
So do you think there's a dynamic where there's a sort of checks and balances in the sense that like a decision can't be made unless you both say yes or you both come to some sort of agreement and then you move forward? Or
Well, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's my question.
We've had the liberty of like if he makes a decision, I'm cool with it, you know, or if I make a decision, like he's cool with it. We've never been like, yo, why'd you do that? You know, which is great. I don't know later on as the company gets bigger and everything, but if we can kind of maintain it that way, that'd be good. But obviously, like, I don't know, I not to say obviously, but I think as we get bigger as a company, we would want to talk to each other more to make sure that we're making the right decision.
Right.
Not because I want to make my own and forget what you think, but more so because I want to make sure it's right.
Right.
You know?
It's that much more important to keep that person in the loop, especially when there's going to be so much going on. You get so caught up in, hey, we know who's got to do what, but ultimately, like, we got to remember, like, there's the dynamic of working in your business and working on the business.
Yeah.
Setting aside that time to talk, if you have a partner working on the business, what are we going to do? What are you in charge of? What am I in charge of? Although, you know, you're the video guy, he's the photo guy, but who's going to be doing the outreach, right? Like, who's doing the client outreach if that's something you are doing?
Yeah.
Who's going to be maintaining those meetings? Or is it both of you? If they're interested in just one thing, is he handling that or you handling, like, those types of conversations? Do you guys have that stuff sort of dialed in and like, okay, we know who runs that?
So thankfully, Usama does have like a business background. His dad has a construction company, and he's like ran it as well while his dad was out of the country. So he's made up contracts, he's talked to people, he's done outreach, things like that. So it kind of helps me out a little bit when I don't know what to say or how to say it. So.
But you're still taking it upon yourself to handle it. He just comes in and helps you, or is he running?
No, sometimes that's, yo, can you do this?
Got it.
And then he does it. Here and there, like I'll just send a message and because now that we have things a little more dialed in, we know the process, we know the type of people we're working with, we know what we're doing. It's a little easier to send the message and know the goal that I want from it.
What would you say is your biggest challenge up until this point, running Bantam Shop?
I think that right now is the biggest challenge, the pricing thing. Just getting out of our own head and knowing that, like, with coming up in price, like, you lose people because they're at a certain, like, there's different types of clients than other clients.
Yeah.
But understanding that we're gonna go up and we're gonna lose some, but we're gonna gain a lot more in the long term.
Yeah, and I know it's happened to me, especially with recurring clients, where when you then try to have that conversation about raising a price, they're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, I've been loyal to you for X amount of time. Like, how are you raising your price on me? Like, do you know how that conversation usually goes for you?
Would you
But
say you haven't
if-
had that yet,
So with
right?
existing clients, it hasn't.
Okay.
I've brought up a little bit, but it had not enough for them to bring up that conversation.
Yeah.
But like a good way that my friend Yomiko has told me, like, to think about it is, like, as you're bringing up your prices is to new customers, give the new price. To old ones, kind of bring it up little by little. But like anything, at some point you gotta let go of, if you're getting booked up with
because
these
behind
higher.
the scenes, you're investing in better equipment
Yeah.
and maybe a bigger team. Like, there's
Yeah.
things that you're investing in to improve their product
Yeah.
as well.
I don't mean to be rude. I'm trying to pull up a quote by Seneca that speaks about stoicism. He talks about, like, our biggest thing that we do to our, like, the most stress I've been through has I forgot the exact quote, but it was just talking about, like, we are the most stressed for things that haven't even happened, but they've happened up here.
Yeah.
And then when it actually comes down to happening, it's not even stressful.
It's just worse in your mind.
It's worse in your mind. And so
than
we
reality.
put ourselves in the most stressful situations when they haven't even happened to us.
Yep.
And so, like, going to that is, like, you're trying to figure out what's the right move. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
You're trying to figure out what the right move is, and you're thinking about, well, this could happen and this could happen. And that, just going through that process is stressing you out, is draining your energy when it hasn't even happened. So, the whole idea of stoicism is just let be and let live, like, just do it, and that's when you should be stressed, if anything.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a story that I shared with you, which I'm not going to name names, but someone at one point basically brought up the fact that I guess they weren't getting paid by me what they wanted. So then it kind of blew up into this huge situation. Whereas if they could have just asked me straight up, it would have been fine. I would have been like, oh yeah, you want to raise?
Well, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm trying to get at?
No,
though,
I know. Yeah.
from
I
their
was just, yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, it's just the idea of, like, I think I want to say this to you earlier on the phone call here today, is, like, people are expecting to, like, read your mind. And it's like you feel that type of way about your pricing, but you never bring it up to your clients. So why do we see them as the bad guys when we never brought it up?
Yeah.
How can we expect our clients to understand and also explain the dynamic of why the price is increasing? Hey, in order for us to deliver the same amount of quality with the demand that we have no choice but to increase our pricing. We would love for you to stick around, but if we have to move on, it's been great. We appreciate your business. We appreciate working with you. And that's it. Like, it's not about, and I think we do it ourselves, right? It's like asking for money automatically means, like, we're taking more. It's no. The whole idea, I don't know if we talked about it on an episode, but there's this idea of perceived value. I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Hermosi. Business guy.
Sounds familiar. I gotta see his face.
Big beard, hair, always wears a tank top. Like, he has a very distinct look.
Oh, he has a hat, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't listen to him, but I've seen him.
So he's very business oriented, and he talks about a lot of times. He says a lot of things. One thing that he says is, you have everything to gain from a yes and nothing to lose from a no. Meaning, if you don't get this business that you didn't even have before, and they say no, nothing changes. You still don't have business. But they say yes, you have everything to gain. So why stress yourself with the idea of, like, if they say no, it's like you're still going to stay the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And an argument could be made, it's like the fear of staying plateauing and not improving, and that's what it is. But to not get started in the first place because of the fear, that's the problem. It's getting started, it's making those conscious efforts. It's like, hey, did we try with this client here? They outreached and they asked this. I'll never forget, I was telling you earlier when we were setting up, it's okay that people are not a good fit to work with you. That's okay. They don't value content. You don't want to work with those people. because then you're ending up in a relationship. It's like being in a toxic relationship where
Yeah.
you fall out of love with that person, or you don't want to be with them, but you're sticking around because you feel bad that they're gonna,
You just feel obligated.
Yeah. And then it doesn't help anyone. It ends up being miserable, worse for you, and then you deceive them because now you're faking it.
It's
Yeah,
disingenuous,
exactly.
Yeah.
Or you don't deliver, or deliver late. Yeah, just because you don't want to be in that situation anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. And again, we don't have it all figured out. We're the whole reason why we're recording these episodes is because it's going to be interesting to see the growth in a year. What was
Yeah.
your thought process back then? What is your thought process now? What changed? For me, at least, I'm still figuring out, but I can't help but be like, no is the best thing that can happen to me. It's just more things under my belt of, okay, not necessarily like, why did they say no? Rather than saying it's me, I want to say, well, I'll take full accountability if it is me, but let's assume it's not. What's another reason why this didn't work out? Oh, it's because they value this. I'm not going to name the person, but I did a video or content for an athlete, played for a big football team, and spending money, Dior, all these different things. It was a vlog, and when it came time for payment, it was like, hey, your prices are a little high. This might be the last time we're working together. And I said, hey man, no worries. Like, appreciate working with you. And that was it. Someone else that I was working with, they were telling me, they were like, oh, like we should work something out. Like we should like lower it because then it could be more recurring work. I just said, listen, man, like, I'll be honest, me personally, at one point when I first started, I would have done that. I would have said, yeah, let's work something out because the opportunity. But at this stage in my life, where I'm trying to hold myself to a certain standard, it's not an ego thing, but it's just like, going back to being like a high caliber individual. What would a high caliber individual do? And so I think about that. I'm on my way towards there. So this type of individual would be like, hey, it's just not a good fit. Let's move on to the next thing. Versus it's like, let me sacrifice a piece of myself, my happiness, my peace, for the sake of like working with this person that doesn't even value what I do.
And isn't it interesting how, for some reason, at least from my experience, those kind of situations happen frequently with celebrity types or big brands? The situations where you would think there would be more funding, more money, it's like the ones where it's like, no.
This is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Collaborate. Hey, exposure.
Yeah,
This is all.
that whole thing.
Listen, and I think it's great for someone that has to get their feet wet. My feet have been wet for the past 5 years. Like
Hey,
I'm all right. Like my feet need to dry off. So it's very interesting, and I think the biggest thing that I think I want this podcast to ultimately do, like one of my goals is to be a part of a community, because in my early stages, like you talking about your story, when I was like 17, 18, like I experienced isolation. I cut everyone out of my life, including family. I was in my own bubble, this is it. And so to have isolation at one point I thought was such a strength, but actually it's more of a weakness, if anything, because it's easier to be by yourself. It's easier to not have to deal with someone's, opinion or feelings and have to like deal with all that. I think you're a bigger person if you're able to go through with it, although you know what you're signing up for, and you're figuring out a way to live with it. And so that, for me, like, I think makes you a better person, makes you a stronger person. So for me, community has been the biggest mission that I've been on, is like, I want to provide as much value to people that can need it. So this is me saying it, and I want to say this to you off camera as well, but I'll probably cut it out. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Like for me, it's always about helping first. Like I get more fulfillment out of that. I think that's what, I don't know if you're religious, but like me, I've always struggled with religion a little bit. But the idea of just being a virtuous person that Stoicism talks about, I was like, yeah, that lines up. I feel great when I know that I helped someone. And that's a selfish feeling I get from it. Now, some people, you got to be careful, because some people look at that and say, okay, like this guy's willing to help, so let's just take advantage of that.
Let him keep helping.
Yeah,
Let him keep helping.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear. I have a line like that I draw, but ultimately I want people to know, like, hey, I bleed the same as you. I know what I hate to sound like, I know what it was like my age. Like, but I know what it's like to not have help. And I know what it's like to have help. And I think I'd be on the side of like, hey, if someone needs help, why not be that help for them? So, you know, it's something where I think we get in our own heads too. We were talking about it, I don't know what episode it was, but the idea of like, you did that. You know, I built this from nothing.
Yeah.
No one could take that away from me. No one helped me get here. I did that. And it's very toxic hustle culture. That's what he calls it. You know, I had that at one point of like, yeah, I did this. I'm the man, all this stuff. But it's like, I think you're a bigger man if you don't say those things and you actually ask for help because you're doing bigger things. You've probably heard the saying, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, go with people, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because you plateau. When you're alone
100%.
doing everything by yourself, you're going to plateau because there's only so much time in the day. How many things are you going to get done?
yeah.
So once you work as a team, I feel like, at least I started experiencing that. I was like, whoa, we're doing bigger things, even faster, I think. I would argue it's almost faster sometimes, depending on the situation. But no, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's funny, like we started this, we're 50-50 in this, and it's like, there's times where he'll tell me like, hey, I got this going on. I told him to say, hey, as soon as you find out something's going on, let me know, because then I'll like I'll carry that portion. And I know that I could ask the same for him if I needed it. And I think having that relationship it's not something that just happens overnight. Like you definitely have to like earn your way to there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you have it, you know, hold near and dear to it. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think I want to sort of wrap that up. Ricky, I want to leave the floor to you. Is there anything that you feel in this, just a background on Jesse, because this is their first time meeting. You know, Jesse's been in the industry for like more than 10 years, right?
About 10 years in general when it comes to video production.
Yeah.
I worked at marketing agencies in the city. I basically like didn't jump right into freelancing. Like I did the whole try to make it a career working for other people, and then at some point I was like, you know what, I want to do this on my own, take that skill set. I went to college for video production, and then I got a master's in marketing afterwards. So to me it was like, okay, I got the video production skills, I got the business background, let me just do this on my own now. And then I hopped into weddings at first, which I could go into that, but like basically I didn't know I was going to do weddings. I always stayed away from it because for me weddings was like because there was a whole like it's events.
It's almost like you have to be
like
down bad. You got to be down bad to do.
There's like a stigma because I feel like most of the time when people are first getting into videography, that's what they tell them to get into.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like easier money, quote unquote, even though it's not really that easy. But I ended up, loving it, and then I built a wedding business, and then now I'm getting more into the B2B side of things, like working with businesses, working with people like Brian, supporting him and his whole strategic business. Yeah. And that's pretty much where I'm at now. It's a little bit of everything, but yeah, I have a 10-year journey in video in general and about 5 years freelancing.
And I think that's important to bring up too, because like I don't want you to think that I've been like doing it for a year and it's like it's been a while, and you don't learn these things in year 1 or year 2. I'm just learning things in year 5 now, so it's a never-ending process. But I don't know if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Have you ever? I'm curious on that. Like, what was that for you? Like, where was that moment?
So for me, it was like when I was doing martial arts, being like doing it for 5 years, being a little brown belt. I'm like my parents tells me, you're good. Not to toot my horn, but because I'm like,
You placed first place in COC a couple times, right?
Yeah, but like,
he's like, who's counting? You know, like.
but look, let me tell you why. So I placed it in jiu-jitsu, but never in kickboxing. So there was always something that I would look as like, it's good, but it's not great. It's good, but there's something else. You know? I don't even know if I had one first place, I'd be like, yeah, I got it. But maybe so, because I guess I would have realized the goal that I wanted to realize completely. But that's what, like with my belt, like I don't test for the next one, and I tell myself until I fought, like amateur level, because for me, I'll get it, and I know
That's delayed gratification. I think
that too, but like I'll wear it, but I feel like I'm not worth it. Because for me, like there's 2 levels, I guess, away from black belt. For me, getting that belt, and even getting the next one right before black belt, I just feel, I don't know. I've never fought, so I won't feel like I'm that guy. You know? So that's why I keep pushing myself in that sense that I want to fight, because I don't feel, even though I've been doing it for 5 years, like I can.
And I think that's a great thing. I don't think that's bad by any means. I think you're not saying you're worthy of it, you're just saying, I'm gonna put this thing in the. There's a book, "Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. He's a Stoic, daily Stoic. He, like putting an obstacle. That's all you're doing. You're not saying you're not worthy of it. It's just saying before I can get here, I have to do this, and it's not impossible. You just have to make the time for it. You just have to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
And until then, you just don't have it yet.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good, like culture, that type of way of living to have. Me, I'm like working towards it. Like me, I have a bad habit of just like, let me get that, especially with equipment,
okay.
Dude, like every dollar, like in my beginning of the years, like give me,
This year,
new laptop, new phone, this. Dude, I worked hard. I did that, right? That whole idea of that was me. I did that. No one could tell me what I could do, what I can't do. But there's something humbling about being able to say, like, I can do this, but did I deserve it? Did I work for it?
Yeah.
That I think is a beautiful thing, and I feel like I assume you learned that with martial arts specifically. Not like people not a lot of people in the creative space do martial arts, or maybe I don't know if they do.
So I have a topic that I've been keeping in my head the whole podcast, which is a bit of a hot take, sensitive topic.
Let's get canceled. Let's go.
But let's go. So he wants it.
No, I'm bad. Like Ricky, I'm like, he knows. Like I will say some, like I'm being PG right now. Like I'm the type of guy that I'll go. I don't care.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm just looking at it from a non-fitness person perspective, because this is something that I think I've been guilty of too at some points. I mean, I have obviously way more respect for it now, and like I look at it differently. But fitness videos, sometimes there's people that look at them and they're like, look at this person setting up their camera. Now they're going jogging. Like, it seems very staged, and it's very much like it can seem almost egotistical, almost like look at me, look at me, look at me. But I'm sure since you guys produce this kind of content, there's a certain audience for that kind of content that values that stuff, that wants to see the journey, that wants to see the meal prep, that wants to see, people's progress. But then there's people that aren't in there, and they're like, why are you sharing this? Like, kind of like the viewpoint is, I don't need to see this. Like, why? Like, who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's your take on that? Or like, how can people see value in that content, if that makes sense?
If you want to go first.
Sure. I think there's value in anything. I think like in this day and age, you can make money off anything. Meaning that people are down to watch anything, right? So I think, fitness especially, there's an audience for that, and I think it's only like egotistical if you feel that way. If you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because I want to get followers and because this and that and that. But I think if you're generally in the sport, bettering yourself, and you're doing it for people watching, it's not necessarily because you think you're this so great. It's more so because there's people are interested and you're capturing what you're already doing.
Is the goal to motivate the people watching?
It could be, or it could be just because you enjoy what you're doing. You enjoy bodybuilding, you enjoy powerlifting, and you'll know that people they want to see that.
So I want to share a quick story. For me, one thing I struggled with growing up, I was like chunky, I was out of shape, and I've always wanted to run shirtless. And I remember being like 13, 14 or whatever it was, and I would always talk to my boys about it and be like, bro, just do it, like it doesn't matter. And I was so insecure, like I was just like, no, people are gonna look at me bad. But there was something about running shirtless that was so freeing. That was like, yo, like, f*** it, who cares? But I cared about what other people thought. And so at one point I was training, and I was like, today's the day. And I ran 3 miles or something like that, and I had goosebumps the entire time. And that feeling that I got, I don't think I would have gotten that feeling if I didn't have that reservation for that time. So when I record myself working out all the time. There are those moments that I feel like I'm the shit. Like I don't give a fuck if someone sees it or not, but I know like recording it, I'm the shit. And it's the journey that I got up to that point. And I can't help but think when I was chubbier and I was trying to get into shape, I watched those videos. I'd be like I need to get my together. I need to be that guy. Showing someone that you weren't always the guy, but you became the guy, that's what everyone loves. That's why movies and entertainment are so powerful, right? It's like you see the underdog. He went through this thing. He had that moment that happened to him, but he still came out on top.
Right.
I think that's what the message is. I think it can get lost. You get addicted to that feeling of like, yo, everyone, like I posted this was
That
like years
dopamine
ago,
hit.
right? Like you have a before and after transformation. Everyone's in the comments saying, "Yo, that's crazy!
Yeah,
Whoa, like, yo, I'm so happy for you." They're giving you so much
Like
love.
there's that line where it could be like, now your motivation is social media.
Yep.
Is like
I'm only doing
Yeah.
it for that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I think it's something beautiful about. There's nothing wrong with like getting love for what you think is right. It's the same way. Why do we create in general?
Well, that's so. What I was gonna say too is like, I feel like that was a part of the hesitancy with doing something like this podcast or like doing videos of ourselves in general.
Yeah.
Was just like, I wanted to start creating content because you know we do it for other people. We invest all this money on this equipment, but then doing it for ourselves, like filming this. At first, it was like, that's kind of egotistical. Like, who am I to like sit there and like talk about myself,
Yeah.
yada yada yada.
There's
But-
a quote by Marcus Aurelius.
But to the same extent, now it's like, now I feel like you, I know you brought it up, it's therapeutic.
oh
You
yeah.
know, it's an experience. We're building community. Like, now I see it from a different perspective, especially like doing it as a community with other people as opposed to doing it alone. I feel like sitting down and just recording myself,
Yeah.
that's the hump that I was like,
100%. Like I really don't know if I could do a episode by myself. Like I don't know if you've done this, Ricky, but like sometimes, depending on the point of my life that I'm in, it's like I just feel like going out for a hike, set up a camera, and I'll just talk to the camera for a couple of hours to myself. And it's not meant to ever see the light of day. It's just meant for me to remember this moment, to go back, you know, when I have a family or whatever it is, and like this guy talked about when he was, you know, 17. Hey, my future kid, like this is for you. Like to have that moment, you don't get that if you don't do it. So it's now, would I do that in public? Would I do that out? Who knows? Right. I have to see the perspective in the value it can bring to others, because I think that's what we're all on this earth to do. I always say it's like no one's on this earth to like live a bad life. You don't come out the womb and saying, "Yep, I'm gonna be like a miserable individual." Like you're trying to achieve a better life. Unless you're masochist.
back to the Mac.
But even that, you're still looking to live a good life.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But you are. It just so happens
different form
that
of a
yeah,
good life.
it just so happens, you know, it's different. But what was it? You had the quote. The
Yeah,
works for this?
no, going back to what you said about like when you, it's not bad to like feel really good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's moments I'm filming or like I'm at PFN, I'm like, yo, I'm that guy right
Yeah.
now filming. Like I'm freaking from Queens, New York, and I'm here. There's a lot of people who would wish, but once I get back, I'm like, humble.
Yeah.
And everything. But
Memento
Sarah-
mori. That's what memento mori means. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Go ahead, and I was
More words.
Sorry.
No, I misread it. But he said, this the quote is, receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance and be ready to let it go. But which was, I had misread it when I read it. I read it as receive it like with arrogance and be ready to let it go. But in my mind, it was more so of like when you get something, be super happy about it in the moment, enjoy it. But once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
But don't be like, it was mine. Like,
yeah,
all
like,
egotistical.
All these
Yeah.
medals on you, like.
Memento mori just means you will die. Like you're living right now, but tomorrow is not promised. Is it that? I don't. But it goes back to what you're saying is like memento mori, meaning be as present as possible. Understand that this moment, like you can't take away. I'll never forget. I had a moment where I wanted to like do something and record, but I let that inner dialogue of like, oh, people are gonna look at me and like think I'm like this douchebag or something like that. But I got pissed off. Oh no, sorry, no, it wasn't that. I wanted to ask my friend for to take a picture of me, and I was like, oh, he's gonna probably look at me like, who the is this guy? And I got in my own head, and when I went to go ask him, I was like this, all right, just say yes. Don't judge me. Do me like I was prefixing it as much as possible before asking, and I was like,
over-explaining.
Yeah, I did it to myself, and it made it that much worse. I bet you if I would have just went up and said, hey, can you take a picture of me? He would have been like, yeah, that's fine. He wouldn't have thought twice. But I was so caught up in like, no, he's going to look at me like this and all that. And come to find out, like I had a conversation with him. I was like, bro, I hate that I do that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hey, man, don't judge me. But like, can you do it?
I think in the last few years, me personally, like I've started to be more conscious of not caring about what people think. But I feel like there's two versions of that, right? There's the I don't care about what people think, where you're just a jerk and you're just this like, you're just this person that literally doesn't care about other people's feelings or whatever, versus I don't care what people think in terms of like the negativity. I'm not gonna like let that control me and take over and
You don't let your actions be dictated by other people's opinions, and then the other one is your actions are on purpose to like your opinions.
Right. Exactly. So it's not like
Explain that second one.
So like the idea of I'm gonna live for the idea of other people's opinions. Like my action is gonna be based off of saying the opposite of people's
like
opinions.
what your parents think, what your friends think.
Like to resent them. To say, so I'm gonna like, I was never into swimming, but my mom hates swimming. So I'm gonna go swim and I'm gonna be the best swimmer. I don't actually care to do it. I'm just doing it because she hates it. And then,
reverse, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's the opposite where I actually genuinely love swimming and it just so happens that my mom doesn't. And sorry, Mom, but I genuinely love swimming. Like, I don't know why swimming, but that's sort of the analogy there.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I started enjoying my life more once I let go of that and was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do what I like to do. If so-and-so has something to say about it, that's great. That's their opinion. But I'm gonna keep on doing it.
And this goes back to is like, there's a community out there of people that are just very similar to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you embrace those people.
We're surrounded by people that will look at that and probably say, oh, who's this guy posting this stuff in the gym? Who does he think he is? And there's that like group of high school people that you probably still follow on Instagram, and they're probably giving you that, or you feel like they're giving you that. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, I want to, for the rest of my life and moving forward, I want to be surrounded by the people that actually get it, that actually care about training, that respect another individual, that puts themselves through hardship. Like, you don't have to show up and train. No one's holding a gun to you and saying you have to go train. You decided to do that for yourself, and I can respect that. I don't want to be surrounded by people that are going to judge and be like, oh, why do you do that? I had a kid DM me. He was like, because I did like a selfie video, and I was just like, oh, like you know, we were, Christian was in the sauna thing, and I had dropped the video. I was like, yo, what do you want the people to go do? He's like, oh, go watch the video. And he was like, oh, what is that? Like, is that kickboxing, question mark? I was like, yeah, it's jiu-jitsu, whatever. And I thought he was interested. And he was being a smartass. I think he was being a smartass. And he was saying, oh, is that like supposed to help you lose weight or something? Like, I don't know what it was. It was just super random, and I was just like, yeah, it can. Yeah,
out of pocket,
it was
out of
just
nowhere.
like weird. It was weird. But here's the thing. I only met this guy at Walgreens. I worked with him at one point. He was a cool guy. Like, I never had it. But it's like I can't help but have empathy, right? Like, what are you going through? I know you're not on the slimmest side. I know you're a little bit on the heavier side. You're probably not training because you don't understand the value of it. Yeah. So it's like, whatever, dude.
So you think there's some projection going on there?
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's interesting. I don't think I would have had that. I think going through those moments makes me want to just be just let me live the way that I want to live. If I decide to post a gym video because it feels right, that makes me want to do it even more because I know someone's not going to understand it.
But then so many other people will understand it, and those are the people that you want in your tribe.
Exactly. 100%.
Facts.
I have to now. I think on time-wise, just because
time-wise, I think we're at the 2-hour mark. Ricky, I want to apologize for this guy. And,
for him walking in on this. We had a moment and
all that. Sorry that you have to see that.
I really think the episode would have been 10 times better, but unfortunately.
I disagree.
As you said earlier, live and let live, right?
Live and let live, that's it.
There you go, that's the message.
So, where can the people find you? What do you got to tell the people?
So you can find me on Instagram at Ricky San, 2 Y's, and Bantam Shop.
Yeah.
Fire.
Cool. Appreciate you doing this, man.
Thank you for your time.